A black Democratic representative from Georgia endorsed Donald Trump, said the Democratic Party had left him, he did not leave, and now, after a major backlash, he has resigned. There were a few big questions about what's going to happen come November, and one of the biggest has to do with black support for Donald Trump. We have seen numerous polls throughout this earlier this year showing that Donald Trump's approval rating was nearly 30%. We had 3 different polls saying that, very credible polls. Now we have another poll from earlier this month saying that Donald Trump's approval among black voters is around 20%. The reason this is so significant is that there's this saying, whether it's true or not, I don't know, but they say if at any point a Republican can get 20% support from the black community, a Democrat will never win again. Now, the again thing's funny. I don't know if that means permanently, but now we have another walk. I mean, it's not really a walk away because a lot of people who used to be lifelong Democrats feel like the left left them. So this man, Vernon Jones, came out and endorsed Donald Trump, saying the president has done more for the black community than Democrats have, and that the black community is waking up to this. He received a major backlash. He was called a traitor. He was called some pretty disgusting names. But if that's how he feels, it's being reflected by many other people. I mean, look, we know Kanye West, we know Candace Owens, we have seen a lot of support for Donald Trump, but it's even happening outside of the black community. I have done numerous stories talking about people who have switched parties, and once again, we have another story about Democrats switching parties. This one's from March 25th. Lena Mitchell for the Daily Journal. More Mississippi party switchers move from Democrat to Republican. It's not just about Vernon Jones. It's not just about black voters, but it is hitting everyone. And the reason I'm highlighting the black support question is because of the statements made by Vernon Jones. I don't know how he feels and how other people in the black community feel. I am not a part of that community. But I think his opinions matter, especially when you see Kanye recently coming out saying obviously he's going to vote for the president, and we all knew he would. Maybe there's something really to this, and I must admit, I'm more of an outsider looking in. But I'm going to listen to what this man's opinion is, and I'm going to look at these other stories showing Democrats are polling poorly. Democrats are polling poorly among African American voters, and Trump is doing everything he can to win them over. Dare I say, I think Donald Trump might actually be gaining tons of ground. I said it before, and here we go. Months ago when I said, look at what's going on with Kanye, look at these polls. Trump is trying to reach out to the black community, and it's effective. Now we have Vernon Jones. Now, people have said some nasty things. So I got to be careful about what I show you because this is YouTube, by the way. But I got to say, some of the responses to his tweets are disgusting. Whether you like the guy's opinions or you don't, calling someone a racist name because of their opinions is disgusting. I don't care if you're on the left or the right. I detest it 100%. You got an argument? Argue the idea. Argue against the idea, the policy, not the person's skin color. That's disgusting. But let's read this story. Before we do, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There's several ways you can give. The best thing you can do is just share this video. YouTube is giving a major advantage to mainstream media companies. They're on the front page right now, getting propped up, while channels like mine are being pushed aside. But YouTube's algorithm is nowhere near as powerful as you sharing. So if you really do like my content, you think I do a good job, sharing this in any way is extremely powerful and really does help. Otherwise, just subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and hopefully YouTube will still share my videos with you. Or I guess if you're listening on the podcast, thanks for hanging out. Now, before I get into his resignation, I want to give you the context. I want to also make it clear, Vernon Jones said he's not leaving the Democratic Party. He did, however, say the Democratic Party has left him, but he wants to stay to hold them accountable. We'll get to his resignation, but first, the important context. State Democrats quickly disown Vernon Jones. This is from the Atlanta Journal Courier, I believe it is, AJC. We'll call it that. They say, State Rep Vernon Jones bucked his party Tuesday and endorsed President Donald Trump, making him the first state-elected Democratic official in Georgia to back the Republicans' bid for a second term. The lawmaker drew a backlash from Democrats who accused him of betrayal at a time when state and national figures were rallying around former Vice President Joe Biden. Top House Democrats responded by endorsing Jones's primary challenger, while others cast him as a narcissist. Argue the ideas, man. Calling names, I'm not all about that. Long a polarizing figure in Georgia politics, Jones told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, that's the name of the paper, sorry, that he views Trump as a transformative president whose policies have helped African American voters, military veterans, and farmers. Quote, "It's very simple to me. President Trump's handling of the economy, his support for historically black colleges, and his criminal justice initiatives drew me to endorse his campaign," said Jones, who added that he had no immediate plans to switch parties. "There are a lot of African Americans who clearly see and appreciate he's doing something that's never been done before." Jones added, "When you look at the unemployment rates among black Americans before the pandemic, they were at historic lows. That's just a fact." State Democratic officials tried Tuesday to disown Jones, a former chief executive of DeKalb County, Georgia's biggest Democratic stronghold. State Senator Nikema Williams, the chairwoman of the state party, called him an embarrassment who doesn't reflect Georgia values. Never has that been clearer at this moment when he chose to stand with the racist president who has made an all-out assault on black Americans, who has tried to rip away American healthcare, and who has failed our country in its greatest time of need, she said. I'm sorry, did you hear what Vernon had to say? He disagrees. Now look, I got to stand from the outside. I personally do not believe Donald Trump is a racist, or at least the way they've portrayed him to be. I believe everyone has their prejudices. But clearly, you've got two people, one saying he's done tremendous things. And I've heard that from many. Not from the majority, no way. If Republicans are still only getting around 20%, that means most, 80%, the overwhelming majority, still don't support him. This is significant for the election, though. This is a number that really does show the Republicans might swing something. I mean, this could be historic. This party switch, not from Vernon, but from many others. It's serious. I mean, Kanye West, Candace Owens, high-profile personalities. In a conference call with the AJC, the Georgia House's three top Democratic leaders backed Rhonda Taylor, a community activist who is challenging Jones in the June primary. House Minority Leader Bob Trammell said he is sending her a check immediately. "We're not sure what was on Vernon's mind. He told you what was on his mind. Criminal justice reform, historically black colleges, unemployment. Come on, pay attention, man. Be honest about what this guy is saying." He says, "We're not sure what was on his mind. It's antithetical to what we believe in." You don't believe in low unemployment rates, colleges, and criminal justice reform? He says, "We can't support an ideology that's diametrically opposed to who we are and what we value." State Republicans were overjoyed at the development, which offers Trump's campaign an African-American surrogate who has won the top office in one of Georgia's most populous and left-leaning counties. Trump captured just 16% of the vote in DeKalb in 2016. That's still really good for a Republican. The Gwinnett County GOP promoted the endorsement on social media and asked supporters to chip in a few dollars to keep our state red. And Brandon Phillips, a Republican operative who was chairman of Trump's campaign in Georgia in 2016, said Jones had been chewing over the decision for years. Vernon has been a Trump fan for a while. Phillips said, "Glad to see him putting Georgia first over party." Jones launched his political career in the early 1990s in the Georgia House before winning the first two terms as DeKalb County's top executive in 2000. His stint was marked by controversy. Now, I'm not going to get into the bulk of his career, because I want to show you the latest news. I understand many people might want me to get into the full context of who he is and all that stuff. I'm going to talk about the breaking news stuff. So, look into his stuff. They say he's controversial. They say everybody's controversial. But he has resigned now amid a massive backlash. Take a look at this story from Fox News. Democratic Georgia rep who endorsed Trump resigns after backlash. They say, according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Jones told the Rashad Ritchie Morning Show, a talk show in Atlanta, that despite his resignation, he would not be leaving the Democratic Party because somebody's got to be in there to hold them accountable. Hold them accountable to how they're treating black people and root out the bigotry. I completely agree with that sentiment. He said, "Turn the lights off. I have left the plantation," Jones said in a separate statement officially announcing his resignation, according to the Journal-Constitution. "Someone else can occupy that suite. Therefore, I intend not to complete my term effective April 22nd, 2020. That's huge. And here's a tweet from Vernon. He says, "I've seen more Democrats attack me for my decision to endorse Donald Trump than ask me why. They've used and abused folks in my community for far too long, taking our votes for granted. Black Americans are waking up. An uprising is near." They say, State Senator Nikema Williams, chairman of the state Democratic Party, issued a statement. We read this, so we know she called him an embarrassment. Vernon Jones seemed to foreshadow this Tuesday resignation in a Monday night tweet. He said, his response to Rashad was, "I don't care what the Democrat Party does to me. What are they going to do? Spank me? That's what he said. And sure enough, then he resigned. After announcing his resignation, Jones fired off a handful of combative tweets touting Trump and attacking Democrats. He continued, more African Americans prior to this pandemic were working more than any other time in my lifetime. In a final tweet saying, the left hates me because they can't control me. They can stay mad. Wow. I mean, it really does sound like similar rhetoric to Candace Owens and Kanye West. I mean, mostly what Candace Owens has been saying. And they're not the only ones. Forgive me for leaving, many of the other supporters of Trump out. Trump has done a lot to court support from the black community. But let's take a look at some other data here. Take a look at this. First, in a New York Intelligencer article, Ed Kilgore writes, a black politician's Trump endorsement raises eyebrows but won't move votes. He basically argues how the Trump supporters love this, the Trump media and right-wing media is touting it, and it's not really going to be all that effective. It's not going to move votes. He says, in reality, as is often the case with turncoat polls, Vernon Jones is a marginal character in Georgia Democratic circles who is facing a tough primary challenge in June and possibly a court decision ejecting him from the state legislative seat on grounds that he lives outside the district. Republicans will tout his 2 terms back in the day as chief executive officer of DeKalb County, a large majority black inner suburb of Atlanta, but he left that office under various ethical clouds and subsequently lost bids for the U.S. Senate, the U.S. House, and DeKalb Sheriff before winning a state legislature seat in 2016. Aside from a record on gun legislation that made him an NRA favorite, Jones has been crossing the partisan barricades a lot in both ideology and rhetoric, as the Atlanta Journal-Constitution's Greg Bluestein reported. Well, it sounds like he's kind of a moderate, I guess. He's conservative on some issues, a Democrat on many others. It also sounds like he's a 1990s Democrat, and the party has left him. Now, of course, there's a lot of controversy around this guy. He may not be the perfect spokesperson. Nobody is. Kanye's controversial, and so is Candace Owens. But how many people are scared to speak up because they don't see leaders telling them it's possible? One of the things I've learned in all my years is that leaders, they really are important to show you or to pave the path themselves. Many people like to follow that beaten path, but somebody's got to beat it out first. They've got to carve that road so that people can make their way and follow behind. So maybe a lot of people don't agree with him. Maybe he is controversial, but I'd be willing to bet there are a lot of people who will see him, see what he's doing, and agree with him. And there's a lot of bad news. Check this out. From Politico. Democrats are underperforming with black voters. I have more data. Now, I'm not saying this is all-encompassing data. One thing I always want to make sure you guys follow or know is that I grab stuff that I see, things that I know about, and there's probably a lot of stuff that I miss. But take a look at this Politico story. The date on this is February 24th. Democrats are underperforming with black voters. More than 1/3 of those surveyed expressed a desire for someone else to run for the president. Politico says, the survey, conducted by the Political Action Committee, Black PAC, found that while black voters are largely supportive of the Democratic Party and align most with its values, more than half feel that the party is not paying close enough attention to the black community. Democrats, they argue, grew too distracted by impeachment to focus on the issues that matter to black voters, putting them out of touch with the key bloc whose support they relied on for decades. If more than half feel this way, don't you think it makes sense that many are going to walk away, basically? That they're going to say, I'm not getting what I need from this party. That's exactly what Vernon was saying. He said that he didn't leave the party left him in a tweet. He said, I'm a Georgia state representative and lifelong Democrat, but in this election, I'll be casting my vote for Donald Trump. I didn't leave the Democratic Party. The party left me. So yes, even though many people might align with that party, they're looking for something different. As Donald Trump said, what do you got to lose, right? You haven't gotten what you've needed for all this time. And now we have this story from April 10th. Trump approval among black voters near 20%. Now that's really low. And that means the Republicans probably don't do a really great job. There's messaging challenges here. But this says a lot. President Trump earned a 19% job approval rating from black voters in the latest Fox News poll. And the Fox News polls are not forgiving to Donald Trump. And he's complained about it. They say, as the Trump re-election campaign works to double the 8% support he received from this cohort 4 years ago. Trump's team is spending tens of millions of dollars to woo black voters in the November election, deploying a massive field and data program to target a voting bloc that for decades has overwhelmingly supported the Democratic Party until all campaigns were forced online by the coronavirus pandemic. That investment included opening social campaign field offices in urban neighborhoods in key battleground states designed to cater to black voters. In the Fox News survey, which was conducted April 4th to the 7th, 13% of registered black voters said they somewhat approve of Trump's job performance, with 6% saying they strongly approve. They mention, nevertheless, in a head-to-head matchup with presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden, Trump fell short of his goal of doubling his performance with black voters, trailing the former vice president 66% to 10. The other 24% were undecided, backing another candidate or not voting. That still shows that Donald Trump is making good ground. They say in exit polls from 2016, 89% of black voters said they voted for Hillary Clinton. Still, turnout in black strongholds in states such as Michigan and Wisconsin was not sufficient for a Clinton victory. So Biden will have to generate more enthusiasm for his candidacy than Clinton did. The poll is a margin of error of plus or minus 3 points. Let me tell you something. Maybe Donald Trump doesn't win the 20% he needs, but Joe Biden is losing support among this community relative to where Hillary Clinton was. I'll tell you what, man. Donald Trump's probably going to be happy with with undecided voters bowing out, because it just means Biden is losing out on a major voting block. Hey, man, I get it. I don't see why people like Joe Biden. I really, really don't. I definitely understand why people don't like Trump, for sure. But you got to see, as high-profile people, celebrities, start backing Trump, you're going to see a lot of people getting behind him. Now, there's still more here, of course. Trump video mocking Obama's Biden endorsement outpaces viewership of Obama address within hours. You may have seen the video, which has now been removed for a copyright claim. In it, there are several black men sitting around watching a sporting event, and one of the guys says, "There's my man," and it shows Donald Trump. Then it cuts to a commercial with Joe Biden, and they all groan. Joe Biden then says some very, very creepy things. The three men then turn to Obama, whose head is superimposed, after Joe Biden says some very creepy things about kids, and the Obama guy goes, "What?" And then it starts playing hip-hop, and it shows the Trump logo. You've probably seen the video. If not, you should check it out. When I saw this, youthful exuberance. That's the best way I can explain it. It's silly, it's funny, it makes a point, and it ends with hip-hop music. It shows black men sitting watching the game, seeing Joe Biden be creepy. This ad, to me, in my opinion, was heavily trying to target the black community. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. But I think they're trying to speak to people with I just like not stodgy, stuck-up, suit-wearing dudes. It's like people hanging out watching a game. And it's Obama sitting with some of his friends, and they happen to be black men. I'm not saying that necessarily will only speak to black men. No. But what I see when I look at these political ads is that they often try and show the people they want to vote, right? That's how they view it. Perhaps that's racist. That's just my assumption. Although I definitely see this ad speaking to everybody. In fact, it probably performed really, really well with just meme-loving peoples in general. But the point I'm trying to make is, I see this as Donald Trump continuing his outreach to the black community. He's trying to be, let me be honest, like playing hip-hop and making a joke is not, I don't see Donald Trump in that. You know, I get it. Trump's a funny guy. And actually, maybe I take that back. Maybe that is Trump. Come on. Suit-wearing billionaire real estate guy. He's not a funny, fun comedian, technically. I mean, he's actually a funny guy. You got to accept it. But I think they're trying to target, and we've seen it in the stories already, that they've been trying to put a lot of money into wooing this community. I think it is working. But check this out. It's not just about the black community. It's about people leaving the Democratic Party in its entirety. So this is something we've seen, and I want to now kind of get away from this idea that it's just about black Democrats. It's actually about everybody. In Pennsylvania, in a small town, we saw many people switch. Now we have the story. Check it out from the Daily Journal. They say last week, another group of Mississippi officials announced their switch from Democrat to Republican. Those Prentiss County officials announced their change in party affiliation in a joint press release, stating in part, "Not only does this change in party affiliation more closely reflect our conservative values and beliefs, as well as the conservative values and beliefs of a great majority of our country, it also allows us to promote Prentiss County on an even greater level. If Prentiss County is so overwhelmingly conservative, how did they get elected as recently as November as Democrats? The 8 officials who made the change include Sheriff Randy Tolar. I'm not going to read everybody. Certainly everyone has a right to choose the party that best reflects their personal ideology. The problem I have with party switchers is those who wait until after an election to announce that their values and beliefs no longer align with their previous party." I'm not sure if this is one of the stories I covered before, because it sounds very similar. People getting elected as Democrats and then switching. But I'll tell you what, man, when you look at the press on TV, when you look at what the Democrats are pushing for, advocating for, it's no surprise to me that lifelong Democrats are saying this doesn't represent me anymore. AOC coming out and saying that people shouldn't go back to work. Green New Deal, racial intersectionality stuff that doesn't resonate with minorities. We saw a poll recently that many people don't like the fact that Joe Biden is an old white male in his 70s. Maybe his age has something to do with it. But the biggest disapproval came from white people. Hispanics and the black community cared much less about his skin color, his gender, and his age. It was white people. So you end up with a lot of people who used to be Democrats saying, I don't understand why you're becoming so increasingly obsessed with things I don't think matter. Now, of course, we got problems with racism and sexism in this country. As I pointed out, in response to Vernon Jones, a bunch of people sent racist things to him. Democrats. It's disgusting. But you know what? They get away with it. Are we going to see Vox, BuzzFeed, and other leftist media come out and call them out? No, they're not going to do it. They're going to just let these people say these things, and they're going to act like it's only the Republicans who are the bigots. That's the game they play. It's a double standard. I know. But I'll tell you what. When I see that stuff, when I see disgusting individuals spout that racist trash because some dude had a different opinion, that sickens me. You think I want to be involved in that? You think I'm going to vote for your guy after you just said those things to that man? You better damn well believe I will not do that. You want me to walk away? I will walk away faster than you can say walk away when you start spouting racism at these people. You know what I would say to this man, Vernon? Disagree with him? I'd say, hey man, let's grab a coffee. Let's talk this one out and see where we can come together. What's on your mind? Why do you feel this way? Is there anything I can do to change your mind? That's the right way to go about it. No. These people do what they accuse everyone else of doing. Do you got racists on the right? Oh, you better believe it. 100% you do. Not every single person. I don't mean 100% of people on the right. I'm saying you got a lot of people on the right. You also got a lot of people on the left. You know my problem is? The Democrats act like they're fighting against racism. They're making it worse. Not just on Twitter, but in many of their policies. They make it worse. And this is coming from somebody who has to deal with these issues coming from a mixed family. So I know full well. So for me, I said recently, you're not going to get me to vote for these Democrats anymore. I'm out. I'm not saying I'm voting for Republicans. I'm not saying I like Trump. None of that. I'm saying when you see what happened with these Democrats, they got elected these moderates, said, we're going to fight for these kitchen table issues. We're going to be regular people. What did they do? They turned around and went scandal after scandal and wasted our time. I didn't vote for them. I didn't vote. I'm too much of a milquetoast fence sitter. You know me. But I'm not, I was very much on board with Yang and Tulsi. Now I'm out. I'm out completely. You're not going to win me over at this point. I'm sorry. I'm over it. Because we see things like this. I can't show you the tweets. I can't. They're disgusting. And it makes me feel bad for these people who finally said, you know what? I'm gonna stand up against the mob. These people who said, I'm gonna stand up against every feeling I've had. Kanye West, for instance, right? Kanye West has been, he first, said, I like Trump. I like how this is going. But then he backtracked saying it was a mistake because people came after him. And then finally said, you know what? I don't care anymore. Bravo. Kanye's got things to be criticized for. Of course, man. More than most. But he's entitled to his opinion. And I'm glad that he and others are standing up for what they believe in. And I might disagree with them on some things. We'll have a conversation about it. A conversation I probably wouldn't win out on because they've seen too much. These people on the left just pushing this racist trash. I don't want to be aligned with that. You want to come out and call that dude something racist? I'm not with you. That's disgusting. But there is some still bad news for Republicans in all this. Rasmussen just published a poll showing that Democrats are still favored to hold their House majority. I don't know, man. I really, really don't know. I was bullish on a Republican majority in 2018, and I was wrong about that. They might still win out, especially with how things are going with the pandemic. So I guess we'll see. But for now, the rule, as I mentioned earlier, if Trump can muster 20% support, he's guaranteed the win. 20% support of the black community. We'll see if he can pull it off. We'll see if he reaches out to these people, gets them what they need. At least some people think he's doing it, and his approval is increasing. That's something Democrats are very scared of. That's why they keep calling him a racist and a bigot. He's not. He's got his prejudices, same as a lot of people, and especially for a 70-year-old man. But come on, that's just absurd. You know what the worst thing about Trump is? He only cares about efficiency, getting that net return. I'm not saying I'm being hyperbolic, right? I think he cares about America. I think he wants to do good. But I think he, as a businessman, would take a look at a group of people and he would say, who's going to make the most money? Who's going to get the job done? He didn't come up and look at someone's skin color and say, I want you because of your skin color. No, Trump was all about getting the effective worker to make him some cash. You want to criticize the man, criticize him for being a greedy billionaire. But to say he's racist is absurd. Because to people like him, the only color that matters is green. And everybody knows it. It's been one of the biggest criticisms of people like him for a long time. All of a sudden now, he's got to be racist because they know he might actually win over their support, and then he'll beat them. I guess we'll see how it plays out. Thanks for hanging out. Next segment will be coming up at 6 p.m. youtube.com/TimCastNews, and I will see you there.